Good morning, afternoon, and evening, everyone. Welcome back to a fresh new episode of Knock Off the Perch, where we talk everything Manchester United. United have been making moves in the transfer market. We have already gotten two big deals done in the form of Bumo and Cunha. Rashford is off to Barcelona. That's official. Next steps are selling the bomb squad, which is contains of Anthony, Garnacho, Jadon Sancho, and Malacia, and then maybe move for the next forward or midfielder or goalkeeper. How are you, Raj? How have you been?
Doing very well, doing very well. I think a decent week as a United fan. Brian and Mbuemo got announced, Rashford's deal got formalized, and after a long time, we have seen United win again. So, not bad in the preseason game. We'll talk about all of that. And let's begin talking about how the squad is shaping up. I think adding two Premier League proven strikers or forwards in the shape of Cunha and Mbuemo, I think it's a big step up and trying to solve one of the major problems we had in the previous seasons of scoring lesser number of goals. So I think that is a big step up. And you spoke about Rashford going out. I think it's probably a better deal for Barcelona at this stage, but I think United will take what they get. What are the next move outs that we could see? Where do you see Jadon Sancho, Anthony Garnacho going?
I mean, Sancho's saga is extending and extending, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah,
Juventus. I don't think 25 million is a lot that we are asking for Juventus,
yeah,
and yet it get keeps dragging on. I think they're waiting for some of their exits themselves to before
yeah,
concluding this deal. That's what we hear from the likes of Romano and Ornstein. Ornstein did mention that the deal is still quite far off, by the way. So we
yeah,
are not 100% sure that if this is going to happen.
yeah.
Anthony one is quite interesting because Anthony had his heart set on Betis, but his agent has recently come out and said that they'll be considering moves to Saudi as well, which is great
Yeah,
for us because it would come with a decent financial package, I'm assuming. And
yeah,
yeah, Saudi is a place where we shouldn't be worried about them bartering over the wages and everything.
yeah,
Saudi is a place where players like this. They're like Saudi sounds like the perfect solution for a player like Anthony. Actually,
yeah. No, fair. I think for Jadon Sancho, what we are hearing is Juventus's valuation is close to
Hmm.
17 million pounds. United are stuck on a 25 million pounds
Hmm.
valuation, and also the fact that United have to pay that 4.3 million severance to Sancho. I think which is why United want to get some decent amount of money out of this deal. But my sense is that closer to end of the transfer window, one way or other, Sancho should move. Similarly with Anthony, and I think the slight difference between Sancho and the likes of Anthony and Garnacho is that they are pretty close to making it to the national squad for the rest of the year. I don't think Sancho will remotely get anywhere close to the England squad, whereas Anthony and Garnacho both are in contention for making it to the Brazil and Argentina squad respectively, and they would want to play football at a high level. They would want to prove it to their respective national coaches that they have it in them to be part of the World Cup next year. So I think that will also come into play. And Amorim made some comments about this in the pre-conference to the West Ham game. What did you make of that entire situation where he was like, "Okay, you want to buy them, go ahead. If you don't want to buy them, we will reintegrate them into the squad." How much do you believe Amorim there?
I mean, yeah, it's a clear stating of United position. So the whole narrative for this bomb squad was eventually we'll be selling them for peanuts and later in the transfer window, and he has addressed it head on. Amorim has
Yeah,
addressed it head on that Omar Barada and Wilcox have a number for them. Unless and
yeah,
until that number is achieved, they'll be remain United players, and he has no problem reintegrating them. I think it's a big problem for him to reintegrate players like these
yeah,
because, but in, like he also mentioned the World Cup angle. He mentioned that these players want to play for the World Cup, and
yeah,
it's a good problem to have for Amorim in the form of having good players fight for places. That being
yeah,
said, we are a team who would be playing only the Premier League this season, and
hmm.
if these players don't leave, then it seems like a very bloated squad for the
True.
38 games and the FA Cup and the English League Cup. Then it sounds a very bloated squad.
Yeah.
Plus, you wouldn't want to have characters who spread negativity, which is the reason why he didn't take these characters
Correct.
with them to the US preseason. So
Exactly, exactly. And to be very honest, I think it's a little bit of media management also that is being done by
mhm.
Amorim at this stage. I don't think Amorim is very keen on reintegrating anybody. It's maybe more of a statement that is being made out that if the valuation is not met, we will not sell players, so that at least for the next 4 weeks or so, before we really get into the close of the window period, we still have a little bit of a posturing that we demand a certain fees. We will stick to that. So hopefully none of them have to be reintegrated back into the squad. I think the camaraderie within the squad is starting to show, and Garnacho is, to be very honest, not helping his case. I think again with the Rashford's formal announcement to Barcelona, he was again quick to make some comments, make some references to getting out of United and being happy with that. So I think let Garnacho do that. Let Garnacho get out as well. But that is about the outgoings, and in all likelihood these outgoings are going to fund the new incomings as well. At this point in time, Rashford hasn't been sold, so we are not getting a lot of money. Okay, his wages are being covered, but we probably need to sell a few players. At this stage, we don't know out of Anthony, Sancho, Garnacho, Malacia how much we'll be able to raise, or will a couple of them be loan deals in itself. But keeping in mind a scenario where we don't raise a lot of money and we have to prioritize a position for incomings. We clearly know that it seems that United are in the market for a striker, a midfielder, and a goalkeeper. But if we had to prioritize one position, what would that be?
for me, it's going to be a striker. We need a attacking striker who gets into the box, scores those goals. Because we have players now who are creating chances, who are chance creators in Cunha and Bumo. So we need either Hoyland to step up, Zirkzee to step up, or we need a alternate solution.
Yeah,
We mentioned midfield being a problem area wherein we don't have that one complete midfielder in the form of, say, a Rodri or Vitinha, someone who breaks plays and carries the ball towards the final, who dictates the tempo. Yes, we
yeah.
don't have that midfielder, but we have solutions there. We
Hmm.
have depth there, we have solutions there. And striking is an area in United right now where I don't see a lot of goals, because we tried both of these strikers the whole of last season, Xerxes plus
Hmm.
Soylan,
Yeah,
and not
yeah.
much output came out of that way. So in my head, it's always that order is always the striking positions, then the midfield, and then if we have some funds, maybe the goalkeeping position.
Agree, agree. And also the entire situation with a midfielder over a striker is that you don't have a lot of midfielders you can buy from the Premier League. So, which
Hmm.
is why you will be getting somebody who is not so proven in the Premier League. You will again have to give them that time to be able to set up and ensure that they are starting to dictate play. It requires a lot of physical step up to do well in the Premier League. So, we don't know if we'll be getting somebody from the outside. And to be very honest, we are not really being linked in a very solid manner to a midfield
Hmm.
target either at this point in time. So maybe the management is also thinking like that. Striker seems to be a priority, and some of the options that we have been, which realistically exist for us, are the likes of Watkins, Jackson. We are hearing some murmurs for Mateta, and as a pricier target, Sheshko still remains in the market. We don't think United have the budget to go for him. And the other pricier targets have found their new clubs. Ekiteke is with Liverpool now, Gyökeres is with Arsenal now. So it seems like the market for, or the talent pool, so to say, is shrinking.
I mean, the best player in this pool is made has made himself available, Isaac. But
Yeah,
United, the reports have distant reports say that United have distanced themselves from this
yeah.
situation, so that fans not don't already start seeing that dream of having Isaac in the squad.
And he is also preferring a move to Liverpool. So it seems like he would move on. But just on a side note, how is Liverpool planning to fit all of these players? Do you think Ekiteke is more of a future signing, a 90 million future signing that they've done? Because they will be playing Salah, they will be playing Wurtz, they will be playing, let's say Isak signs, they will be playing Isak as well, and then somebody off the left of the likes of Gakpo maybe. And it seems like Nunes and Luis Diaz are on their way out. So it seems like either Ekiteke is a signing for the future, or maybe they're planning to play two upfront.
I mean, I still think their front three will be. I don't think they'll be changing the system a lot. I saw their preseason
Yeah,
games. I think with the number of games that Liverpool has, they'll need some squad depth there. And
yeah,
in the absence of Luis Diaz and Nunes, I think they
yeah,
will need some options up front. These are two players who were part of the majority of the framework which Liverpool had last season,
yeah,
uh, words I believe will alternate with Soboslai because number 10 position last year, Soboslai and
yeah.
McAllister, these two were
Absolutely.
covering.
Yeah,
So I do see them covering that. But coming back to United, yes, this is the talent pool that we have now. Isaac one never made sense for me because not just his transfer fees, even his wage demands are quite, and it makes
yeah,
around a 250 million operation for any club who go for him, which is a
yeah.
large operation for 5 years. And if it doesn't work, it's a big blot in
True.
the wage bill. That being said, I think Watkins and Jackson they present some decent solutions. They are right now better than the solutions that we have up front. Watkins,
Hmm.
obviously, it will be the ideal solution because
Yeah,
Watkins can drop back. He can bring the other two players, our inside forwards, into
yeah,
play, and he's the best player in the Premier League right now in doing that. After Kane, I think Kane
yeah.
used to do that a lot, drop back and bring Son and Lucas Moura and all the other players into play. I think right now
Correct.
Watkins does that. That is why you'd see in Aston Villa, a lot of the players, the goals were distributed among the front three because Watkins usually dropped into places. So
Yeah,
Watkins would be my favorite solutions. But that being said, what we are hearing right now is Aston Villa have made their stance known that they are not in the market to sell Watkins.
yeah,
Maybe this is posturing, maybe this is to get a good fees out of it. The fees that we are hearing is 60 million. Do you
yeah.
think Watkins in today market with his age is a grasp at 60 million?
I think, as you just pointed out, age is a little bit of a factor where he doesn't come across as a 6, 7, 8 year or 8 year long term solution for Manchester United. But I think at this point in time, we have to go for a mix of different kind of solutions. We need somebody in the short term to come in, and the market is a little haywire, right? We are seeing, especially within the Premier League, the big bucks being spent for slightly unproven commodities as well. We have seen Madueke go for a 52. We have seen the likes of Ilanga, Morgan Gibbs White, their valuation being around 55 million or so as well. So I think if that is the demand, probably 60 million is fair for a player like Watkins who can add a lot to a squad, especially to the United squad. The other thing to consider there is that there is some interest from Aston Villa for Garnacho, and Garnacho wants to remain in the Premier League as well. So there are some synergies there. So you never know if some kind of a pseudo swap deal could be in the works as well. Watkins moving for a certain fee, Garnacho moving for a certain fee. Both the clubs tend to make some money out of that for their PSR calculations as well. Both of them are now, I think, on zero fee as per PSR standards. So I think there's a lot to be made out there. The other option you were speaking about, Nicholas Jackson, I think I'm warming up to the idea of Nicholas Jackson. The only thing is that Chelsea are slapping a very uh, big price on Nicholas Jackson's transfer fee. They are talking about 80 million odd of a transfer fee. They are looking at Ekiteke as the benchmark for what a striker fee could be. And I was just going through some of the stats for last season, Nicholas Jackson. His non-penalty XG per 90 was zero point 0.5. So, and that is fifth best in the Premier League. His non-penalty XG plus expected assists per 90 are 0.67, which are again eighth best in the Premier League. And his shots on target per 90 are 1.38, which is third best in the Premier League. So he definitely has some underlying stats which, with the right system, you could exploit. Yeah,
I think these are brilliant numbers for a player, and these numbers, correct me if I'm wrong, these numbers tells us that this player reaches in good positions and
yeah,
makes good chances. Uh,
yeah,
we still have a problem in finishing chances, isn't it?
yeah,
Hoyland is a player who has been trying a lot. This is
yeah.
why I'm not super warming up to the idea of a Nicholas Jackson, because maybe his PR is bad. Maybe he has a bad
No,
PR because.
just on that, I have a thought. So typically, if you look at the stats of players like Garnacho,
Hmm,
Garnacho again is of that same pedigree where he will get into the box, he will take shots, but his shots will be haywire, etc. However, if you compare them to stats with Hoyland, Hoyland was not even able to get into a lot of right positions. He was not able to create a lot of shot
hmm,
taking
hmm.
actions either. So that is the distinction. So Nicholas Jackson's stats are more akin to Garnacho's in this case. And what happens with that is, with a good coach, with the right coach, with the right system, a little bit of that is coachable, is what the pundits or the analysts say. However, what is not coachable is getting into the right spots all the time. So for that, you need to have a little bit of a footballing IQ, understanding of the game, etc., etc., which I don't know whether it is form, confidence factor, but Holland has not been able to display a lot.
I don't know, man. This transfer still sounds to me like it's a makeshift solution rather than a complete solution, because I've I've seen Liverpool games a lot last season, and
Yeah,
this was the problem with Darwin Nunes as well. He'd get onto good positions, he'd make great chances, but he won't be able to finish them, and that's a big
yeah,
problem to have in your main striker, in a
yeah,
striker who you spend that kind of money on. And that is a guarantee which you almost get on Watkins. I think we both agree on the fact that Watkins is a numero uno in these options, and then
correct.
maybe Jackson. Our third option
Absolutely.
is Mateta from Crystal Palace. We haven't heard from Crystal Palace about his availability. We don't know
Yeah,
from how much he will be available. We don't know if he will be interested in this move either as well. That being said, Mateta is again a player who brings in the inside forwards into play. The perfect
yes,
example of this was his goal against City in the FA Cup final last
yeah,
year, and that
yeah.
was akin to what I need to see from our forward right now. Uh, I really am hoping that Zirkzee turns into that player who can bring other players.
Yeah.
Zirkzee has shown signs last year that he can
But I think
be that player.
Xerxes' presence in the box is a little suspect.
Yes,
That is where
yes,
I think the challenge lies. I think as a style of play, again, I don't dislike Mateta as a player. As we were saying, he gets a lot of Eze and Ismailia Sarr into play. So I think you could evaluate that and almost envision Mateta doing that with Cunha and Mbuemo as well. But the larger problem again is he's 28. Crystal Palace will demand a decent fees for him,
Hmm.
and he also isn't an elite level player. I think Watkins, at least by Premier League parameters, you could almost classify him as consistent player who delivers at
Yeah,
least 15 goals year and year. Mateta
correct.
hasn't shown so much of that, so which is where I think rather spend 15-20 million more, get a Watkins if possible, rather than going for a Mateta.
Our final option is add another 15-20 million to Watkins, you get a Sheshko. And what
Yeah.
Sheshko brings again is akin to Hoyland, because we talk about potential a lot. He is a
Yeah,
game changer. He has game changing potential, but whether he's able to replicate what he has done in the Austrian and the German league into
yeah,
Premier League is a big question. Now I know a lot of big clubs were after him. Uh, he has something which I don't see in any of the other options that we discussed, which is like brilliant aerial ability and
hmm,
explosiveness into the box. Uh,
yeah,
that is something which I don't see in any of the players, and for that, I don't think it'll be the worst idea in the world to break bank and bring a Seshko in. Yes, we won't get experience for a lot of money, but
yeah.
that being said, if we see the likes of say Ekiteke, I mean these people also haven't scored that many goals and they have been brought on for big fees, right?
The difference
Even
in getting in Ekiteke to the Premier League is you have the likes of Salah, You have the likes of Shoboslai, you have the likes of Gakpo, who have now played a few years in the Premier League and have done decently well. There are Premier League champions at this point in time. You get a lot of, and if, for example, if Isak joins, he will be an understudy to Isak in some ways.
Hmm.
So you get the right sort of mentoring to grow into the system. However, if you get a Sheshko in right now, he will have the same problem as Haaland is to. He'll be expected to lead the line and do miracles for this United squad, and that is something I feel is a little bit of a problem. And given where we are, if we can solve for the short term, probably get into the Champions League next year in a best case scenario, and get good amount of money from the Champions League competition fees, and then probably spend in another striker next year or in a couple of years. Maybe that is a better way to look at it, and which is why I'm not sure. Like for the next 2 years, if you say Watkins is going to come in, give us 30 Premier League goals in the 2 years, I'll say yes. Most likely that will happen. Will Sheshko do that? I'm not sure. So
Let's rank your
yeah,
preference of strikers which United could sign in the leftover strikers which United could sign
yeah.
in the next 1 month or so in order. Let's go Watkins, Jackson, Sesko, and Mateta. How will you rank these four in terms of how you'd like them
My
in the United squad?
Yeah, my preference would be Watkins one. Premier League proven, brings in a lot of his supporting cast into play as well. So likes of Cunha, Mbuemo should get better with him as well. Should be a decent fees, and I think he should just hit the ground running. Number one. Second will be Sheshko. Third Jackson, and fourth Mateta.
I think between Jackson and Mateta, I'd rank Mateta higher than Jackson because of his ability to bring other players into play and the lack of
Yeah.
finishing in the Jackson. I don't see Jackson as a complete article, whereas I see
But Jackson
Mateta
is also
as
23 or 24, which is an advantage. But which is where I put Sheshko higher, because I think the fee maybe in a range of 5 to 10 million will be the difference between the fee for Jackson and Sheshko. And Sheshko is 22 maybe, and he brings in a lot of pedigree, which is why he's higher in the pecking order for me than Jackson. But
fair,
Jackson could
fair.
do a job, I guess. Yeah.
Fair. So these are the striking options that we have. Is there any way you would prefer a midfielder to come over a striker? Could you see our current strikers do a job there? And if yes, who would be the ideal replacement of say a Casemiro right now? We discussed a few names. We've been
Yeah.
linked with a couple of names from Sevilla. From Villarreal.
Yeah.
We've been discussed with the Sporting midfielder as well.
Yeah.
What are your opinion on the midfielder situation?
Yeah, to be very honest, with the midfield situation, I think the really good midfielders are not easy to buy at this point in time. Uh, you want a midfielder who can break up play really well, who can progress the ball really well, and it's almost a category of elite level midfielders that you're looking at. If you were to look at people who could do either one of the two, I think we already have that in the squad. Ugarte can do intercepting and breaking up play really well. He's very aggressive as a central defensive midfielder. Manu can carry the ball forward really well. So both of them do that job to some extent. But if you had to find one player who could really transform that squad, uh, I'm not sure. Maybe Ederson is the closest that comes, who could be available as well, and brings in that pedigree. But if I look at if there were no bars in terms of what are the possibilities, the likes of Bruno Guimaraes, I really like. If a player of that mold we could find from somewhere through our scouting network, etc., I think that will be something that works out really well. Now, maybe we also saw the Villarreal midfielder, I think for a 20 million fee. He was being discussed, but I think it is a little bit of a posturing from the agent. They're just trying to get a new contract from Villarreal at this stage, so I don't think that will happen. But yeah, don't see a lot of names, to be very honest. What do you
Brilliant,
think?
brilliant. Yeah, I mean, Ederson, you mentioned there's Martin Hoyland from Sporting as well, who's being linked a lot with us.
Humuland or something like that, right?
Something like that, yeah. So
Yeah,
he's being linked with United quite a bit because of
yeah,
his affinity with Amorim and his system. But
yeah,
again, like you mentioned, we already have Menu, Ugarte, Collier, Casemiro, and possibly
yeah,
Mount if if we see him as a six or 8 or 10. He also can do a number in the midfield
yeah,
positions. Even though we see him as a number 10, he also could do a
yeah,
number. So we have already have 5 players in that position. Amongst these 5 players, we other than Casemiro, I don't see any other player leaving. And even on
yeah.
the Casemiro front, there hasn't been any movement. So
Correct.
yes, I will probably let United find a new striker rather than a new midfielder. Uh,
Yeah.
Final position in play is the act of a goalkeeper. Now, our
Hmm.
primary goalkeeper is injured for an indefinite period of time. He's
Yeah.
expected to be available around the time the Premier League starts, but hasn't played any part in the preseason. Onana.
Yeah.
Binder doesn't come without his faults. Which we have he is getting a move out of United finally. He's played last 2 seasons on loan. And the final player that we have is Tom Heaton, who's played some minutes in the
Yeah.
preseason. So it's not an ideal situation to be in. What we have
Hmm.
heard so far is United tried a bid on Emilio Martinez from Aston Villa. They tried a
Yeah.
loan move which was blocked by Aston Villa. They have been asking for a final sale move, and United
Yeah.
seem to be in the negotiation for that. Are you happy with that? Do you think this is a move that has to be done, that Onana has been given enough chances in the last couple of years and it's time for a move?
Yeah, I think we spoke about the striker and midfielder situation. I would rather solve those two first than come to a goalkeeper, unless a really good option becomes available, and we'll just touch upon that in terms of some of the movements that could be happening there. But I think Emiliano Martinez is slightly overrated as a goalkeeper for me. He is great at penalties. He is great at you know uh, putting forth that big body, ensuring that he is covering the ground really well. But he comes with his fair share of mistakes as well. And the latest example was the mistake he made against Manchester United on the final day, and it was a crunch game for Aston Villa, by the way. They were in a situation where, had they beaten Manchester United, they would have gone into the Champions League. So it was a crunch game for them. He made that mistake, and he is going to come for a significant fee. I'm not sure about how his camaraderie with the squad is going to be, because he comes with his own personality. I mean, the kind of guy he is. So I am personally not too sure about him as an option. That said, is he better than Onana? Yes, but do we necessarily need to make that upgrade? I'm not so sure about.
You mentioned that we have another goalkeeper in
Yes.
the form of Donnarumma linked with us.
Yeah, so Donnarumma is really interesting because out of the blue, suddenly it seems that PSG are looking to move him on. And that is coming on the back of his contract not being signed, the extension not being signed, and his current contract is running out in 2026. So they are now moving. PSG are moving to Lucas Chevalier as a potential option from Lille, which will mean that Donnarumma is on the market, and they would want to sell this year to get some monies out of the deal. And there are some rumors that are emerging that United have had some talks with Donnarumma, verbally spoken to him about a 200K a week contract. So you never know. I think if that deal were to happen, there is nothing like that. So I think it's a little bit of what is available in the market as well. But that could happen. On the other hand, United are also looking at a younger option in Lemons. So I'm not sure if he'll be first team option right away, but he'll be a much better second goalkeeper option than Bayandar is, what my understanding is. So in that case, I think Binder might be moved on, because I think Binder also wants to play more football to be ready as part of the Turkey team for the next summer.
Fair, fair, fair. So our final verdict is striker, midfielder, and a goalkeeper in that
Yeah,
order, and that also completely depends on how we sell in the market, which seems to be the real
True.
test of Ineos this year, by the way, because we have already, like, they have succeeded in bringing two big talents from the Premier League to the United team.
Yeah,
Now the onus is on them to find solutions for the bomb squad, and yeah,
absolutely.
get going on the final jigsaw puzzle in the form of a striker, midfielder, or a goalkeeper.
Absolutely, absolutely. And talking about how the lineup is shaping up, let's get into discussing the game that happened today morning, our time. The game against West Ham in the first preseason game of the US tour. Uh, 2-1 victory. Happy with the win. What did you make of the game overall? And let's start talking from the starting lineup.
Yeah, lots of positives. Amar before the match mentioned that the starting 11 will be getting more than a half. He wanted to see how they
Yeah,
perform for a longer duration of time. So we saw
yeah,
the first starting 11 play for almost 70 minutes, and the rest of the squad got 20 minutes. It
yeah,
was a game which, after the 11 substitutions, after the 10 substitutions, after the 70th minute, was quite broken as expected. But the starting 11 did play quite well. We had Binder, we had Euro, Heaven, as well as Dillet in the starting centre back position. I think
yeah,
Euro and Dillet performed very well. Aiden seems to have a mistake or two in them, which is expected from a player of his age level and
yeah.
with lack of experience. That being said, I can totally see the rest of the two, Delete and Euro, seamlessly moving into the playing 11 in the first couple of games for United. What about you?
Yeah, no, fair point, fair point. And I think Aiden Heaven brings in a few skill set of being able to carry the ball forward. Obviously, he's a left-footed player. Amorim likes playing left-footed centre backs in that left centre back role. So I think he does offer that. I think one is a little bit about the physicality. We saw for the goal, Jared Bowen was able to almost like outmuscle him and take that shot on. So I think that will get better with time. So I'm not too worried about that. But yeah, in the short term, maybe Luke Shaw starts there, maybe Mazarawi starts there. We have a couple of options, and hopefully Licha Martinez comes back quickly to be able to take his place back in the 11. So that should be all right. Then I think in rest of the
On the wings.
midfield, we had Ahmad and Dorgu on the two wings. We had Ugarte Menu in the center of the park, Bruno Cunha in the inverted tens, and Rasmus Højlund up front. So I think it was a pretty strong lineup. It was a bit of an indication of where Amorim is seeing certain players play. And the good part was that he tried Menu and Bruno together. He moved Bruno up front into the 10th spot and Menu and Ugarte as that pivot partnership. What did you make of that partnership in the first half?
Oh man, Menu and Ugarte fitted like a glove because both of them are able runners. Both of them
Yeah,
could cover space, and both of them had the intelligence of when to drop and when to proceed. We saw that from Ugarte when he had that
yeah,
singular chance when he cut in like with three
yeah.
players and then provided a very great through ball to Ahmad, who converted, but it was just slightly offside.
Slightly offside. Yeah,
Yeah, so that was there. So it's a good combination. What is need to be seen is if Bruno's if Bruno seems to be converting chance after chance from whenever he plays in that number 10 role. He already
yeah,
had too many goal contributions from the number 6, number 8 position as well.
yeah, yeah,
With Mbuemo coming into the team, we expect the ideal positions of Bumo and Cunha are those number 10 forwards, which tells us that Bruno might have to drop back. What
yeah,
is Bruno's best position for United as of now with the current personnel around? Is it at number 10 where he's closer to the goal,
yeah,
or is it number 6 where he can define the moment of play? For me, it will be number 6 because we need able players. That is a place where we're talking about finding a new solution. But I don't
yeah,
think we need a new solution when you have someone like Bruno who is an able runner, who has an engine, who knows when to slow down the game, when to speed it up.
yeah,
Yes, he only problem I'd have with having Bruno there is Bruno is caught out of positions a lot of time, which cannot
yeah,
happen with your center midfielder. What are
yeah.
your thoughts on that?
No, so I think if we saw the goal that we conceded had Menu and Ugarte both pushing a little upfront and leaving Thomas Suchek unmarked. And it took was one through ball between Menu and Ugarte to find Thomas Suchek, and then he was able to carry forward, pass it on to Bowen, who took a good shot and scored from there. So I think that is the problem with playing a lot of forward-thinking midfielders within the team. So probably it was by design is why both the central midfielders were pushing forward, but ideally you will have one of them blocking the attacking midfielder of the opponents, and in this case had Ugarte been closer to Thomas Suchek, probably this situation wouldn't have come. Now with playing Bruno in that spot, the problem is that he will gravitate towards the box of the opposition. So this same situation could happen where we are leaving a lot of spaces, and which is why I actually like the Ugarte Menu partnership, or in games when Ugarte is not available or not doing that well, you could have Casemiro also playing there for a few games as well. So I like that combination. Bruno can be played there as a makeshift, but come to think of it, Bruno's best position, no doubt, is that number 10 spot near
Hmm.
the opposition box. The question for Amorim is going to be, how does he fit Brian Mbuemo in this setup where he has a striker, Cunha in the left forward 10, Bruno in the right forward 10? Where can Brian Mbuemo come in? Who does he replace? And how does it impact the overall team? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'd also like to see Bumo and Cunha in that number 10 because they are good carriers. We discussed a solution where one of them could be actually playing as a striker, replacing
Yeah,
Hoyland. But I'd ideally want to see, irrespective of how Hoylund has performed in the past season, I'd still like to see a natural number 9 playing in that position who
yeah,
stretches the field for players, who brings, like, it becomes easier to break low blocks with a player like that. Yes, he hasn't been quite efficient and productive in his position. That being said, I'd
yeah,
still like Bumo and Cunha to attack the box with their number 10. Another solution we were discussing, which was possible, is Bumo playing at a right wing back instead of Ahmad. I
yeah,
don't know if he has ever played in that position. This might be a very
yeah.
unorthodox solution for after getting a player like Bumo. But
Yeah, you want him
is it a
closer to the
possibility?
box. He can, I think he has at times shifted onto that right wing spot or a right wing back spot for Brentford, mid game after a couple of substitutions, etc. But I don't think that's making the best use of a 70
Hmm,
million
hmm.
odd forward that you are signing when goal scoring has been a problem for you, and he brings in 20 goals in the Premier League in the previous season. So ideally he is closer to the box in that right 10 spot. Cunha is closer to the box in that left 10 spot, and Bruno plays with another central midfielder. It
Yeah,
looks like the most possible solution at this stage with
agree.
a legitimate striker up front.
Agree. How impressed were you today with Cunha's performance? By the way, he
Ooh.
brought a lot of energy into the front three. He also dropped back into the midfield when we were defending, which was
Yeah,
quite great to see.
the first action that I noticed in the game was when West Ham were sort of putting a lot of pressure in United's half. Cunha dropped back. He was able to intercept the play. He played out a good pass. The ball eventually reached Rasmus Højlund, and he made a great run forward and took that shot which beat Areola only to hit the woodwork. And all that happened in like first 60 seconds, right? So I think that is what Cunha offers, and then later in the game, you see he will move from left 10 to a right 10. Even when Bruno was on the left side of the field, he will also drop in, and if he sees the play being made out of the left, he will also join the play. So he was playing in that free sort of a role. He was taking on a lot of defensive responsibilities. He was taking shots on from outside the box as well. All in all, very very impressed by him, and I think he is going to add so much to this team in the Premier
Yeah,
League.
I wasn't familiar with this game about that. He drops so deep and brings the ball. Like, of course, I know that he's a good carrier of the ball. I know that he shoots
Yeah,
he shoots at sight from outside of the
yeah,
box a lot of times. But I didn't know that he dropped so deep and could find those intelligent balls forward. So that was quite a pleasant surprise for me to see from a forward position who drop back so much and help out the midfielders when they need to
yeah,
be, when we are in a pressure situation. And this would happen a lot when we are playing with the likes of Cities, Liverpools, and Arsenals,
yeah,
because they do play with a lot of position, and that time we, our sometimes in some games, our only situation that we can score a goal is from counter attack. That is when players like this come crunch.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think another player who impressed me a lot was Dorgu.
Ah,
He was getting into great positions, I think, and you could see a little bit of a link-up play between Cunha, Dorgu, Heaven coming from the back, making those passes. So I think that is good. You're trying to in the preseason, you just want to see the patterns of play emerge and those link-ups play. I think we are seeing some of that. Dorgu also, almost went ahead from a very neat through ball from Heaven uh, earlier in the first half, and that allowed us to get a free kick. And I think that was a brilliant play as well. That was impressive. On the other hand, Ahmad looked a little out of sorts on the right wing spot. What did you make of that?
I mean, yeah, I mean, he made a couple of errors there, but he still is our best solution for carrying the ball from that position. I think once we have Boomo there, uh, a lot of creative onus will be taken away from Ahmad. And yes, I think if Ahmad is going to continue on the right wing back role, he would have to improve on his defending. Today, I saw a couple of times
Yeah.
when the West Ham attacker on the left hand side found himself free in a situation, and even in one-on-one duels, Ahmad wasn't winning a lot of them. It does come down to his not so big frame.
Yeah.
That being said, he's a able runner. He's a great carrier of the ball, and he has intelligent solutions in him. So,
Yeah. Yeah. And
so
also, I think
that
one more.
yeah.
Go on.
So yeah, between him and Naus, that is the only question that I have. Like
Yeah.
yes, Naus is more defensive minded, but he gives us a bit more security. Whereas you see a lot of flair from Ahmad, not as much as defensively secure, but going forward, just
Hmm,
brilliant.
hmm. Maybe that's a great point. And in games where we have to break down the low block of the opposition, Ahmad will be more important. However, in games where we have to contain an attacking opposition like a Manchester City, Liverpool, etc., maybe Mazarawi or Dallo may be more suited, who know the defensive nature of the role as well better. So maybe Amarim will tweak it, make it a little bit of horses for courses kind of a situation. The other point I was earlier trying to make is today you had either a Bruno or a Cunha playing in that right hand spot who tend to drift towards the center. However, when you have Mbuemo playing in that spot, Mbuemo can hold width as well, which might allow Ahmad to drift in from the wing back spot. So I think he might feel or have a better say with Mbuemo in the spot there. So I think some of those we will see in the upcoming games. We have two more games, one midweek and one towards the weekend of the next one in this Premier League summer series. So these will be some things to notice.
Yeah, I mean, let's hope United can find some solutions. We don't expect United to find immediate solutions in the transfer market, but that being said,
Yeah,
selling players from the bomb squad would be the primary task
yeah.
for Ineos, and then finding the solutions at striking, midfielder, or goalkeeping position would be the next step. So, hoping United can find that solution, and looking forward for the next preseason game.
Absolutely, absolutely. And this was a fun one for us to record. If you have any thoughts, let us know in your comments. Do like, share, and subscribe. And yes, as always, this is our perch. Let's knock him off. Until next time, stay united.